All right, we are ending our topic or my breakdowns of the Beyond Player Development framework. And this is a player development framework that I created using all the experience I have in player development from the University of Houston, University of Kansas, Baylor University, and my time as the founder of Beyond the Field. Thank you for being here. My name is Ed Jones. And so today we're going to finish this acronym. Beyond is an acronym for six areas, six systems that you could put in your program to have player development excellence. The B is belonging. The E is education. The Y is your purpose. The O is opportunities. The N is navigation. And the D is development systems. So today we're talking about development systems and we're going to put a bow on this. And what I'm doing is I'm taking you into my consulting workbook. So this is a workbook I have that I do with those that I consult. And those are coaches, athletic directors, those in the player development role, principals, school district athletic directors, athletic coordinators, activities directors, principals, whoever cares about developing athletes. This is the framework I use. And so what I'm gonna do is take you into the consulting a little bit. I'm gonna give you some of the reflection questions, not all of them. You won't get the exercises in the application. That's for those who book me for consulting, but I'm going to walk you through some reflection questions that you can do. You can take this video and you can do this today and you can impact the athletes in your program. As always, want to start off with a stat. This comes from McKinsey and Company. Organizations with strong systems and processes are 2 times more likely to achieve their goal. And so I love this because today we're talking about development systems. And what this means is we've done belonging, education, your purpose, opportunities, navigation. We have all this great stuff, but we need to put it in a system. We need to put in a system that is easily understandable. We know what we're doing, but we have to communicate it to so many. It has to be easily grasped, and we need to have it in a framework that can be used, become cyclical, and be a great guideline for the impact that you want to make in the lives of athletes. All right, so the first reflection question here is, have you clearly documented your approach to player development? You've done all the beyond stuff. We talked about it, or the beyond. We're doing the D right now, but you've done all that, right? But have you clearly documented your approach to player development? So you have a belonging system, you have education system, you have purpose system, your purpose system, you have opportunity system, navigation. But what about your overall approach to player development, this role or this task or this passion you have? Have you clearly documented? And this is how we're going to do it. This is what it's going to look like. This is what it will be, right? Right. And it's good to document it, right? Because people, coaches, athletic directors, people love systems. What is your full player development system, right? What is your approach? How do you see this whole entire thing before I dive into these things that you want to talk about? So that's reflection question number 1. Number 2, how are you communicating your program internally to coaches and staff? Once again, if you have an approach to how you do player development, you can clearly communicate it to your coaches and staff. I've talked about this multiple times in player development. If you want to create massive impact, I'm talking about massive impact, and do things that you never thought imaginable, you have to have the support of your coaches. You have to. The head coach and your other coaches that are there, right? If you can't clearly communicate what you're doing, what player development is, and why it's important to you, and the value you bring to the program, you can get that support. People ask me, I was actually at the Player Development Summit, and someone asked me, they said, hey, what programs are the best in player development? And I said, I could sit here and say what's the best, but I said, honestly, the programs that are the best to get the most done are the programs who have the supported head coach. Because I know plenty of professionals who are great at what they do, but they don't have support. I went through it at Baylor University. Like, I just didn't have the support. It is what it is, right? I didn't have the support to fully realize the potential and what I thought I was getting into, right? I was sitting on my hands. There's nothing I can do. If you don't have the support of the coach, it does not matter. And so you want to clearly communicate your program internally to coaches and staff. And mentioning that, if I can go back, I would have clearly communicated. I thought I did, but I would have clearly communicated what player development is and how it can provide value to the program. So you need to make sure you're communicating that internally. The next question is, how are you communicating your player development program externally to athletes, parents, and stakeholders? How are you taking that and communicating that to the athletes during a recruiting trip or your athletes that are there? I'll never forget. I waited when I was at the University of Kansas. I came from the University of Houston, got hired at the University of Kansas. And I said, I'm gonna wait until I tell the players what I'm gonna do. And I'll never forget Coach Miles like, hey Ed, can you give a player development presentation? We just want these guys to know what you do. And I went up there, I gave a presentation, hey, this is what, player development is going to look like. It's called Beyond the Field. This is what it's going to look like for you being a Kansas Jayhawk here. And I remember I went through the whole deal and I clearly communicated to the athletes. And I'll never forget Akeem Adeniji, who's in the NFL right now. I talked about him last episode. He came in my office and he was like, you really gonna do that for all me and my teammates? He closed the door. He kind of like not grilled me, but he was a captain. He's like, I said, yeah, that my plan is to do what I talked about. If you all want to join, you all have to also get it done. And he's already tell me more. I was like, bet, let's sit down and let's talk, right? And so I was able to clearly communicate that to him as an athlete in the program. But you've also got to clearly communicate it to athletes that you're recruiting. You got to recruit it to you got to communicate it to their parents, right? I hear a lot of people talking player development about retention, and that's the big thing now in player development. I totally get it with or college athletics. I totally get it. And one thing is like, does the parent understand? Are you communicating to that athlete and that parent like, if your student is here, this is the program we have, right? If you want to say, hey, I got the Beyond model, I'll sit down here, boom. The Beyond model is going to help, bring me in. I'll get with you. We'll consult. We'll make it all happen. So you can say, hey, we got the Beyond model. This is what we're going to do, right? Or whatever it is. If you're like, hey, I can't do the Beyond model at this point. I don't have the resources. Awesome. Not awesome, but I get it, right? I've been there. But you need to communicate what you're going to do while you're there, right? Because it's not as parents like, I don't know, like, does this other school have this? I'll never forget. I was talking to when I was at University of Kansas, talked to a player who was getting recruited. And he said, you know what? There's only been we've been to 15 universities. There's 2 universities that talked about player development, and how my son's going to be developed. I said, which ones are they? He said, you all and Ohio State. And I was like, dang, that's, pretty big, Ohio State. I was at Kansas, but hey, parents need to know. And then stakeholders, how are you talking to the boosters or the alumni or the former players or the high school coaches in the area, the high school clinic? Thankfully at the University of Kansas, they let me talk about player development at the high school clinic, right? So now these high school coaches are saying like, hey, these coaches from Kansas and Missouri, and they're like, oh, we can send our player here because this guy right here in player development is going to take care of my players, right? So you have to clearly communicate your program externally. And the last thing here with development systems is, what does your development plan look like across the entire year? This is one of the things I love doing. I have a player development yearly plan document. If you want it, email me, edward@btfprogram.com. I'll shoot it to you. But I used to go through my program throughout the entire year. Hey, coach, this is what it's going to look like the entire year, right? And I would break the year into four month. It was 3 periods of 4 months. And so January through April was like winter conditioning, signing day, spring ball. And then May to, I guess it would be May, June, July, August was like summer, spring, summer, fall camp, all that. And then September through December was like season, winter, graduation, all that, right? And so all our programs were based on what it would look like within that year. Like, this is what player development is going to look like in the entirety of the year. So it wasn't just like, hey, here's all these things we're going to do. It's like, no, coach, this is what it's going to look like throughout the year. And so these systems are there. I can go so much longer, but once again, this is what I use for consulting. And if you want me to go deeper, just bring me in. There's a link in the show notes that says Beyond Player Development Model Assessment. But you need to have systems. It's incredible because you don't want a coach to just think you're leaving everything to chance, right? You want to deliver this with intention, consistency, and impact. And so that is the D. We have just finished Beyond Belonging, Education, Your Purpose, Opportunities, Navigation, and Development Systems. If you have missed any of the videos and want to check them out, you can check them out right here. As I always say, go out and create generational impact. Don't wait, create that generational impact today. And get my book on Amazon. I'll see y'all. Y'all have a good one.